Hey, hey, Warrior Wednesday, what's up? What's up, you guys? It's your girl, it's Kelly. I am back to Warrior Wednesdays. Come on in this room. I'm in my house in Pennsylvania. I'm in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. I've been on all these flights, y'all. Hey, what's going on? I miss you guys. Welcome into Warrior Wednesdays. For those that are new to the crew, what is going on in here is this is a very safe space that we talk about women's health and fertility, y'all. We talk about everything from endometriosis to PCOS to blocked fallopian tubes, fibroids to all of the things. And today we have the most amazing guest. Hi, Mama Stu. Mama Stu from the sunroom is saying, hi, Boomerang. What's going on, Mommy? Thank you for the welcome back. I'm very, very happy to be here. Send this out to all your friends and people that need to see this because I have an amazing guest. Ryan Vincent Ford, what's going on, Warrior? For those that did not see the men's Warrior, Ryan Vincent Ford, who is a gospel artist, is on here right now. And he was part of the men's Warrior Wednesdays with his journey with his beautiful wife, Ebony, and their beautiful daughter, Rain. So please check that out on the website, www.warrior-wednesdays.com. That is with an S, or you can find it here on the IGTV page. Hi, you guys. Shout out to Nene Slices. Nene Slices was just putting in these twists, y'all. Let me tell you something. This was a get it together very, very quickly live because I've been back and forth from New Orleans and headed out of town again tomorrow morning. But I'm here. I made it to Warrior Wednesdays because I miss you guys so much. Before I bring on the most amazing guest ever, I have to tell you that Saturday, we are going to have, it's National Adoption Day on Saturday, November the 20th, National Adoption Day. And I'm part of a little like teeny tiny show that you might have seen on the CW or on Netflix. It's called All American. I don't know if you guys have seen it or heard of it. But Katie Carroll, who is the showrunner, the boss, she runs the show, is coming on Warrior Wednesdays, November 20th, to tell us her adoption story for National Adoption Day. Okay, she's a busy, busy woman. Thank God it falls on a Saturday, and she's going to come and tell you guys her adoption story, and she runs a whole show, and it's just amazing for her to be here. But without further ado, Michelle Mishner is here. Hi, Michelle from First Wives Club. If you guys haven't seen that, it's on Paramount. It's an amazing show. Well, BET Plus, right? BET, put it in there for me, Michelle, so I can tell everybody where they can find you on First Wife Club. And she introduced Ryan Vincent Ford and Ebony Ford to me, who I just spoke about. She's an amazing actress and an amazing mom as well. But without further ado, you guys, I'm going to get right to it because this is about surrogacy and egg donation. And I believe that if there was a fertility legend in these fertility streets, then that would belong to my guest, Eloise Drane, y'all. She is the founder of Family Inceptions. She also hosts a beautiful podcast called Fertility Cafe. But check this out. She is a 3-time surrogate, 6-time egg donor. And she's still out here in these streets helping families create life and bring them into the world by connecting surrogates with people that need them. And she's just amazing. She's done it herself and she's continuing to do it in this world. And I am so delighted and privileged and honored to bring the fertility legend herself, Eloise Drane, to Warrior Wednesdays. So without further ado, you know how we do it in these streets. Put it in the comments. I need a lot of flowers. I need a lot of things so that we can welcome her beautifully. You guys, here comes Miss Eloise Drane. Let me get her on account, and I need you to follow it right away. Family Inceptions. When you meet this amazing creature that God gave us, y'all, that has brought life. Woo!
Oh my God. I'm listening. I'm like, who is she talking about?
I'm talking about my friend, the legend.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolute legend. I have to tell you. Well, first, let me tell the people that are tuning in, whether you guys see this live, send it to a friend, or also send it to them if they have to watch it after. If you see Eloise, there's some flowers coming in. My mama put some there. That's from Mama Stu. We always start this off with some flowers and some love. People are saying hi to you. But for those who
Thank
don't know,
you. Thank you. Hi, everybody.
it's so excited. Okay, so this is how we met. So Cody Elaine, y'all, if y'all watch Black Love on OWN, Cody Elaine, who is the creator and executive producer of that wonderful show, did a Clubhouse panel about fertility, Black couples and fertility. And you and I were blessed enough to be invited by Cody to be part of that Clubhouse panel. And so I hadn't seen your face, but I was hearing all of the words of advice and wisdom that you were giving to everyone about surrogacy and egg donation. And I was like, I have to know her. She's like in my spirit. I have to know her. And so we started connecting after that. And then I was honored enough to do your podcast, Fertility Cafe. And so you
That's
guys
right.
can find that on Family Inceptions and Fertility Cafe
Yep.
online here, because you're going to follow it. And you can also find it on my page. But now here you are. Welcome to Warrior Wednesday.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'm so glad you're here. This is a safe space. We have a lot of fun, but you are a fertility legend. So I just want to start with you personally first. I want to start with your story of becoming, because you are a mom, and I want to start with your story before the surrogacy, before the egg donation, of you becoming a mom. Can you just give us some insight into your journey?
Yeah. So gosh, going back. So my oldest son is 27.
Look at her skin, y'all. Look at her skin.
Yes. Thank you. So yes, I've been blessed to have 5 children, one which was gifted to me. Yes. So I have 4 of my own, and then my husband had a daughter from a previous marriage, so that's my additional gift. And I actually had my kids early. So I had my first son at 19, my second son at 20, and my third at 22. And I was blessed. I was fertile, or, all of the things that, people talk about. So, but I also knew that I was supposed to be the statistic, right? Because here I was 19, I had my first, second, I had my second, 22, I had my third, even though I was married to my ex-husband, but still, I was still going to be considered that statistic, and I didn't want to be that. Mm-hmm. But I never thought about egg donation or surrogacy. I mean, that was definitely not even remotely close to my thoughts. What happened was I was actually a kidney donor first. And I gave my cousin a kidney. He lived in California. And after we had the surgery, I went to visit him in California. And while I was there, I saw an ad. And this was still when, you actually had like classified ads in magazines in a mall, right? Where you can actually like pick up.
Old school, y'all don't know, but we know. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So my cousin and I, we happened to be at the mall. And I was waiting for her. She was at another store, and I was waiting for her. I was like, oh, just sit here and read. And I started going through the magazine, and it had an ad for egg donation. I was like, oh, I could probably do that. And so when my cousin came out of the store, I was like, oh, we started talking about it, like, oh, would you ever be able to do that? And she's like, no, she hadn't had children at that point yet either. So she's like, no, I probably could never, whatever. So, and then it was kind of just left there. And then fast forward a year and a half, and I thought about it again. I was like, you know what? Let me call this place. I'm sure they're probably going to tell me I don't qualify, because I assumed that you had to live in the state, and I had to live in California. And by that point, I'm already living in Atlanta. So I called them, and they were like, actually, you would be a great candidate, but Black women don't have fertility issues.
Stop right there. Ladies and gentlemen of the church and of the choir.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I want to stop there, because this is something that we still hear to this day.
That's right.
This is completely inaccurate. This is not only false, it is extremely harmful for us to be told, because, this comes from, you guys, and we talk about this here on Warrior Wednesdays, when enslaved African people were brought to the America, and we were considered breeders. So Black women, enslaved African women, were considered fertile. But I want to rewind before we go back to that heinous comment. because I just want to rewind with that year and a half between seeing it and thinking about it and then deciding to think about it again. The reason being is I'm so curious as a human being, what was in your spirit that made you say, I want to donate my eggs, and why? Was there a conversation you were having with yourself because you had given your kidney, you have seen the need for help of how your body can actually change a life? What was that conversation? Because you were young. What was
I
that
was.
conversation? Yeah, what was that conversation?
Well, so I'm a believer, and my faith is everything to me.
Y'all put the spirit hands in the comments, please, and thank you.
Okay, so and at the time, sometimes you don't necessarily have words. It's just that you know that the Holy Spirit put something in you, and you just know that you know that you know, period. So that was how it was for me when I was a kidney donor. I mean, when I literally yesterday, funny enough, was 23 years when I gave my cousin a kidney. It just happened to be yesterday.
Clap hands, y'all, and put 23 in the comment, because let's give it up for what you did. Let's give it up for his life, the health of all of that. You guys put the number 23, and if y'all are gamblers, you better play it, but put the number 23 in the comment section. This is my friend.
I'm just sending you all good vibes, but the raining down and the overflow.
Here it goes. Here come all the 23s. 23 years ago today?
Yesterday,
23 years ago, yesterday, you gave your kidney. And you being here are the 23s, I hope you see them. That is to honor you.
I do see them.
Yes, the selfless gift that you gave. And then, so like you said, you are a person of faith. And we are here too. We are here too. And so that what you said, I just knew what I knew. You just know what you know, what you know. And so something inside you said, this is a path that I need to explore. Let me just say, for the warrior community, let me just give you a rounding collective thank you. Because you made that decision and did the things you did, you're here today giving all of these people that see it live or see it later hope to know that there was a woman on the other end of the line with that call when someone said Black women are not infertile. And I'm looking at the woman on the other end of that call that was a 3-time surrogate, y'all, and a 6-time egg donor. So now that we know this was something you just knew, take me back to that phone call. So she says to you, Black women are not infertile. And what was that for you?
I was like, oh, okay, well, that was surprising. But you also have to remember, this was back in 1999, 2000. Dr. Google isn't what Dr. Google is today. So there was no, let me just go in there and search and see if they really know what they're talking about, because that wasn't out there. And I didn't know any different. I didn't know anybody who was going through fertility issues. And remember, I had my first at 19, my second at 20, my third at 22. I am now a statistic of, Black women are fertile. We're always having babies. We always, whatever. So I was none the wiser.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, I mean, should somebody ever be interested, please feel free to reach out. So she was like, okay. Well, she reached out about 9-10 months later.
So
and
about
said that there was a family.
So about 9-10 months later, she calls you back and tells you that there was a family that was looking for a donor egg,
a Black donor.
And we're gonna have to unpack all of those things, right? Because we don't know so much about this community, which is why Family Inceptions is such a brilliant thing that you're doing. And you guys, we will talk all about that. But there is a need for, as a scarcity of, donor eggs from Black females. So we definitely need to discuss that. But so the family calls and they need an egg donor, and you say.
And I said, sure, wonderful. I'm willing to help. And after the agency put me in touch with the fertility clinic, I never heard from the agency again. So I was like, oh, okay. So then I worked with the fertility clinic and pretty much had to do all of the legwork myself to find a monitoring clinic to pretty much figure it out. The fertility clinic sends me the medication instructions, and you, I mean, for anybody, including yourself, you've gone through it. When you first have to give yourself that self injection, it's no, I was like, okay, all right.
It is a panic moment, y'all. It is a scary, it is a panic moment. It is, Lord help me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. We have this goal in mind. I used to squeeze the stomach right here, and I used to put the ice pack
Yes.
here. And Mama
Yes.
Sue would help give me the shot. Yeah, because you could literally pass out from fear if you're afraid of needles like me.
Yes. Yes.
So, but wait, before you go into that, because I want to hear all about that, I'm wondering if that agency would have left a white patient that was donated eggs without the care and the legwork and the necessity to go through the process with her. My guess is absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to ask you, was there a fee paid to you for donation?
Mm-hmm.
And around, do you remember around what that looks like? If there's anybody on this live that may think, I'm a Black person, I don't want kids, but I'll donate eggs. I've had kids, but I'll donate eggs. What's the answer to that?
So when I did it in 2000, I received a compensation of $3,000.
$3,000 compensation.
Now that compensation starts at $8,000.
Do y'all hear that? That compensation starts at $8,000 for someone
$8,000.
for someone with ovaries that wants to donate eggs. And then what is it for men? Do you know, with the sperm? Does it vary?
They only get a couple $100, but there is a shortage of Black and
Black males.
brown donors, sperm and eggs. So it's not just on the donor side, the egg donor side. It's also on the sperm donor side. There is definitely a shortage, and for Black and brown, Latina, all of those, they are desperately in need right now of donors, because there's just not, and quite frankly, and we can go down this rabbit hole, but I can go into a whole bunch of reasons why there isn't, but we can talk about that afterwards. And there is definitely some responsibility that is to be had in the fertility community of why that is, but we'll go into that after.
We will. We're going to get hype in the streets. I told y'all, this is a fertility legend on this live. We're going to go down that rabbit hole. But let's go back to the first egg donation of it all, because you've had your kids, and this is the first time that you're giving yourself your shot. So you guys, when you retrieve eggs, you have to go through a battery of health tests first to make sure that you are healthy enough to go through the process, correct? And hoping that you will have viable eggs. We are given hormone shots to take daily at a certain time. We're monitored with an ultrasound, blood test to see where we're going and when those eggs are reaching a certain level of maturity before they retrieve the eggs. So you're compensated $3,000. You're not given help by the agency that sent you there. And we know they would have helped the white woman. You said it again. And so you go through this process, you get these eggs taken out, then what?
So they retrieve the eggs. Well, the day before, the nurse from the clinic picked me up at the airport. She dropped me off at the hotel, told me she'll be back at 7 a.m. to pick me up. She came, picked me up at 7 a.m., took me to the clinic, did the retrieval. They let me rest for an hour. She dropped me off at the hotel door and said, call a cab tomorrow to take you back to the airport so you can go home. Handed me a check for $3,000, and I've never heard from them again. Yes, ma'am.
I want to say a collective thank you, but now I want to say a collective I'm sorry. Because you should have been treated so much better than that. We as a people, our birthright is to be treated with respect and dignity.
Mm-hmm.
And to give of your body to help others create a family, and to think that you are dropped off at a door and said, and thank you very much, and I never heard from you again, is
Mm-hmm.
so blatantly unnecessary and racist.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to say that. Yet and still you continue to give. So what was the emotional experience? Take us back to that door, that happening. And I know you were younger then. Did it hit you of like, what the hell just happened? Like, did it
Oh yeah.
all?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Tell us a
Because
little bit.
for me, it was when I decided to, when I really thought about again about being an egg donor, what I kind of contributed to was the experience and the feeling that I had when I was a kidney donor for my cousin. So after we had found out that we were a match, and then, a whole bunch of months of testing and testing, and then finally we had the surgery, and unfortunately he actually passed away 6 weeks after the surgery.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, but in that time though,
You guys,
I got to see
rainbows
all
and
of
rainbows.
the just the beautiful of him. Like literally he came to me and one day and he was like, oh my God, I got to pee like a man for the first time in so long. And he was
Oh,
like, I never thought I was going to be able to do that. We take that for granted. And for
woo.
him, that small thing is like, oh my God, I helped him to do that.
Yes.
So, and maybe it was in kind of a selfish feeling as well of me feeling like, oh wow, I got to do that. That was me that helped him do that. So when I saw the egg donation thing, I was like, oh, I can do that. I can have that feeling again of being like empowered and being able to be like, wow, I really helped another person like that. So that's what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm,
That's obviously
mm-hmm,
not what I got.
mm-hmm.
And after she dropped me off at the hotel, obviously I'm there by myself until the next day. They had retrieved 27 eggs. And
Mm.
so I hyperstimmed a little bit. So I wasn't feeling the greatest. I was bloated. I wasn't feeling comfortable.
I had the same.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I just, I was at the hotel room by myself and I was just like, oh, I don't know if I'm ever going to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
This is not what I was expecting. The experience was going to be. It felt dirty.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So I just got up, the next day, went home, and that was it. Fast forward 2 years later, and again, something in my spirit was like, go ahead and apply to become another egg donor. And you know how you have those conversations with the spirit and you're like, oh, no, we're not going to do that again because that
Right.
was a disaster.
Like, what are you
And
talking
I'm not,
about? We already went through this. We broke up already over this.
yes,
Right.
yes,
Right.
that was a
Yes.
disaster. We're not doing that again. But it was just like this conviction in me. So I went ahead and I put my information on that website. It was a classified site for people that were looking for donors and surrogates, or obviously women that were willing to be donors or surrogates. So I put my information really anticipating that, I may get selected, but it's going to be a while from that point. Well, within 2 to 3 hours, 15 emails of Black women looking for Black donors. 2 years later. Yeah.
So we went from Black women aren't infertile. 8 months later, we get a call to
Yeah.
within 2 to 3 hours, 15 emails. Do you guys hear that?
15.
15 emails of Black women looking for egg donors, Black women that were in need of what spirit
Mm-hmm.
clearly had a discussion with them that had a discussion with you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, wow, wow,
Mm-hmm.
wow. So
Mm-hmm.
now this is going to be, was this the situation where you were choosing whom you were donating the eggs
Yes.
to? Okay, because this is a
This time around.
classified situation. This time around, it wasn't the agency taking you to the fertility clinic. This time around, you had a choice of who you were going to work with in this process.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. And how was that selection process done for you? And for those that might decide to do something similar?
Sure. So I then reached out to responded back to these women and obviously wanted to make sure clearly that I was a good fit for them. So, okay, yes. Some of them emailed out of desperation because they had been looking for a long time and they were looking for a donor that had similar characteristics and I did not. Some of them, just the timing wasn't going to work or whatever. And so I decided to work with a family that was up north. So I'm originally from Massachusetts, and that family was from, I can't remember if it was New Jersey or Connecticut. Anyway, they were from up north. And so I just kind of felt a connection. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and help this family. So we went ahead, and it was a completely different experience. Completely.
Completely. You met the family.
So
Or
the
did you meet them or
family
no?
remained what we consider semi-anonymous.
Okay,
They knew
explain
all
that.
of who I was.
Okay.
They had my contact information. Obviously, we were communicating via email, but I didn't know their real names because they still wanted to remain anonymous.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm like, okay, fine, no problem. But at that point, I was kind of already open. Like I realized even, and at that point I was 26-ish, maybe 27. And I realized that what I was doing was giving away DNA, which also means my children one day could potentially come across this person or this, and I didn't want it to be where they were kept in the dark or it was secretive, because I don't feel like it's anything to be a secret about. I feel that I blessed another family, and so I'm going to shout it from the rooftops.
Woo! And I am so glad you did. And I want to say, I want to get right in that crux, right? I want to get right in that groove. I want to get in that cuddle spot because I think one of the things that people probably may ask you or be too afraid to ask you is, what does it feel like knowing that your DNA is out there and there's a person walking around that's half of you?
Mm-hmm.
Can you, for those that might, because there's such a lack, because there's such a need, but because you listen to spirit, you were in a place of yes and amen. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for those
Mm-hmm.
that might be getting to a yes and amen of it all, can you explain a little bit about how you emotionally either detach or understand or cope with, talk to your children about, how do you deal with the reality that technically, biologically, I have other children via my egg donation in this world?
Because I don't call them my children.
Got it.
I have other human beings
Got it.
with my DNA, but I also have other human beings with my DNA because my grandfather was a Rolling Stone and had children all over the place. I have DNA out there because, I have siblings who they have children and their children are going to have children or whatever. What I gave was DNA. I didn't give away my children because my children are, one lives in Massachusetts and the other ones are here in Georgia and they're living their lives and everything else. That's my children. What I gave was something that I literally, once I have a menstrual cycle every single month, was going to be flushed down the toilet.
Do you understand why I say she's a fertility legend? And preach to us, because I think we have an emotional attachment, and it's valid. I'm not saying it's not valid, but there's something that's said in the Course of Miracles that a miracle is a change of perception. Mm-hmm. It is the way that you view a thing. So for you saying, yes, I'm a surrogate, but those are not my yes, I'm an egg donor and a surrogate. We'll get into that, but those are not my children. There are mm-hmm. other human beings with my DNA in this world, the same way Papa My pop was different people's uncles were, or whatever, or even mamas and aunties were some Rolling Stone and Stonettes out in these streets. So the way that you say that allows us to understand the perspective of who your children are, your babies, and that there is DNA in this world, and there's so much of your DNA in this world. But this
and
was
I think also society has
yes.
made it where, you know, again, Black and brown people were because, you know, you have all of these fatherless children, and so you have all of these fathers that are out there and have children, and then you have all of these motherless children, so you have all of these children out there, but it's only the Black and brown people that, you know, that's the only people that have that issue. And my whole thing is I don't accept that. Especially now where society has changed, where men don't want to have a whole bunch of children out there. Women don't want to have a whole bunch of children out there. They want to be able to have a couple of children, but they also don't want it to be, again, going back to what society says about Black men having babies everywhere. Well, now we have a shortage of Black men who are even willing to be donors because you guys have told them umpteen times that they have babies everywhere. And now you're turning around though and saying, oh, but can you still give us your sperm so that we can control where the babies are?
Everybody take a deep breath. Because I'm telling you, Eloise will have you thinking about your entire life. She will help you get your entire life together. You preach in such a way. It's the truth, because you see both sides of the coin. You've lived that life, and we're going to talk about Family Inceptions as well, but you are you are speaking to so much, and it is coming from the pulpit of Fertility Church, and I am absolutely obsessed with it. Now, I want to go, so it was a completely different experience. So you worked with this couple. My guess is you guys decided upon the fertility clinic that you were going to use. You had a lot
That's correct.
My guess is you had say in that and all of those things, right? And then
I didn't have a say in their fertility clinic. No, because they had already been established patients at their clinic.
I understand now. Okay,
yes.
So then.
So we went through, but this woman had so much gratitude, like so much gratitude, and shared with me her story of they kept going after miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage, and she just didn't know what to do anymore. And they had been looking for a donor for a couple of years and couldn't find one. So we went ahead and did the retrieval. They got, at that one, 32 eggs.
Woo, girl.
Yes. And then the funny thing is, so they went to go do after I did the retrieval, they went through their process. She had a transfer. It was unsuccessful. And then, funny enough, she ended up getting pregnant on her own after that.
Wow.
Without even using the eggs.
Wow. Wow. There, but by the grace of God. Woo! Okay. Time now. We had a lot of you've done the egg donation 6 times.
Total of 6 times, twice for the same family.
Twice for the same family, a total of 6. So 6 times you heard the call that this was something that you were going to do. Again, a collective thank you. Could y'all just put TY in the comment? Just thank you in the comment, because all of this is going to lead to talking about Family Inceptions, talking about Fertility Cafe, and going down the rabbit hole of all of the things that you are truly an expert in. And I want to get there. But your experiences, you know, it's kind of like the walks that we take lead us to the purpose. Had you not gone through all of those things, you wouldn't be where you're at now in this purpose-driven life of being an egg donor, being a 3-time surrogate. As a Black woman, we don't see it. It's going to make me cry, but I'm not going to cry yet. I want to get into the transition of I've been a kidney donor, an egg donor, and now I want to be a surrogate. All while a mom.
Mm-hmm.
You're a full-time
Mm-hmm.
mother. So
Mm-hmm.
please tell us about, when did surrogacy become a conversation with you? And as you said, I'm a woman of faith. And how did the surrogacy come to be?
So after I did my last donation, and mind you, those donations that I did were from that batch of 15 women. So the 15 emails that came in, people had came after I did the second one. Then there was another lady who kept reaching out to me. She's like, "Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? I'll wait for you to
Be done
be
with that.
available."
And she
So
did.
I went ahead and did a donation for her. And then another lady. So the same people that I am communicating with, because once I got all those emails, I took my profile down because I was like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. I don't need
Right.
to have all these people reaching out to me. So, but it was the same people that kept reaching back out to me. So I went ahead and did it for them. So then I realized, wait, maybe I should start an agency specifically for the Black and Brown community, because obviously there is a lack for these women. But when I decided, or when I started thinking about doing it in 2005, I found out I was pregnant with my youngest son. I was trying to finish my master's degree. I was working a full-time job. I already had my other 4 kids and my husband. So there was no way in hell that I was going to start up a business at that point. But then I got a thought like, okay, well, why not go work for an agency? That way I can get a better understanding and understand how things work. So I started looking for a job at agencies, and no one was hiring, or whatever they said. So, but then I found an agency out in Oregon that did surrogacy, but they didn't have an egg donor program. So I started their egg donor program for them, but then I started learning about surrogacy from them. And I was like, oh my God, I can do this. I had easy pregnancies. Actually, I mean, obviously you threw on me, I was pregnant. And I didn't even have morning sickness with my kids. I mean, you couldn't even tell I was pregnant till I was 7 months normally.
Woo.
So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this. Well, I went to my husband and I was like, babe, I want to be a surrogate. And this man was like, you want to what?
What?
And I was like, yeah, I want to be a surrogate. So we're not going to use the words that was used during the conversations.
Right.
Yes. But over a year it took for him to finally be okay with the idea of me being a surrogate. And his whole thing was, I mean, he understood that, you know, although a woman did ask me if I had to sleep with the man in order to get pregnant.
Right.
And I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Mm-hmm. But so he knew about those aspects, but he was concerned about my health. Obviously, he was concerned about, what if these people try to take advantage of me? What if, you know, okay, you're supposed to get compensated. What if they don't compensate you? What if, you know, all of the what ifs of, rightfully so, that everybody should actually have when they're considering going down that path.
Right. Standing in full protection of you. Standing in full protection.
That's right. So I'm like, I mean, let's see what we can find. And we talked together about who we were going to help. And I say who we are going to help.
I love
because surrogacy is not just because I'm the one carrying. I am not the only one doing this. This is a whole family affair.
Thing. Y'all hear that? Just because you are carrying, everybody around you, everybody in your life, your family is affected by the fact that you are carrying a child. And you need to be healthy. You need to be taken care of. You need proper rest. Everybody's life has to shift. So this is a family gift, literally, at this point. And, you know, and it's interesting, you even saying it took about a year of convincing. Now, I just want to ask you before you continue with the story, because I definitely want to hear all of the things. Did you have doubts? Did you have the questions that your husband was bringing to you, and maybe some friends, whoever you may have shared the thought of like, I think I want to do this. Did you have doubts? Was there a moment where you backed off? What kept bringing you back to getting to the point where you were continuing to have these conversations in a convincing way, or trying to make this decision? And I say that because I believe that there are people just like you, that are in a space of wondering, is this something I should do? This is something I have felt in my spirit. Talk to them about what those doubts may have been, and where you got firm in your conviction.
Of course I had doubts.
Yeah.
You can't go into something like that and not have doubts. And this was at the time where surrogacy wasn't a common thing. So we're talking about 2007 timeframe. Surrogacy wasn't where, people were talking about surrogacy. Celebrities weren't even sharing that they were doing celebrity, you working with surrogates on national television or whatever. Everything was secret. Everything was hush hush.
Yes.
And so I had to obviously share it with my husband, and then I had to share it with my mom.
Right.
Who is an immigrant. So my family is from the Cape Verdean Islands, which is off the west coast of Africa. And so you're talking about a woman who came to the country in her 20s, who couldn't speak a lick of English, worked and, provided for her family. And now I'm going to her and telling her, oh, I want to carry a pregnancy for another human being.
Right. And she's like, huh? How does that even work?
She's like, you want to what?
All the things. Right.
But
I'm sure the more that you're explaining the process and explaining the why of it all, the more that you are actually talking to yourself. Like I do
That's
believe
right.
that sometimes when we are in a decision-making space, in a doubtful space, is this God really telling me to do this? The more that you're saying, no, Mom, it's this. No, Mom, this is why. Mom, I've helped in this way. That it's more affirming for you. And I imagine that when the entire family got on board, talk to us now about choosing the family to which you all were going to be a surrogate for.
So we decided that wanted to have a local family.
Okay.
And I wanted to help a family that had dealt with cancer or had some kind of medical issue that and not to say that somebody going through infertility couldn't, but for me at that time, that was my thing because again, in 2007, infertility and advocacy and all the things that are there now still wasn't there as prevalent as it is today.
Right.
So I wanted to help a family, and I'm like, maybe if they have cancer or if they have some kind of, severe medical issue, that I want to help. And so we found a local family in Atlanta, and we met. And after we met, we kind of clicked, and it was like, okay, let's start this. But before then, and I just kind of want to jump back to real quick about what I was going through and what I was feeling, because when I started it initially, I applied through agencies. Now, at the time, there was no agency in the state of Georgia.
Okay.
So I had to apply outside of the state. And so I was applying to different locations, and months would go by and I wouldn't hear from anybody, not a single agency. And I applied probably at like 4 or 5 different agencies. Nobody would reach out to me.
Do we have a hypothesis as to why?
Let's see, what color am I?
I don't know. Same as me, girl. Last time I checked,
nobody reached out to me.
So beautiful and brown. You see? So this insidious racism in our healthcare system.
It is still so prevalent even today. But, and because no one was reaching out to me, I truly thought, I'm like, well, maybe I got that wrong. Maybe that's you. You know what? Maybe you don't want me to do this. Maybe this is not of you. And I went to my pastor and I told him, I want to do this, but maybe it's not of God. I mean, maybe it's not what God is intention. Am I playing God because I'm trying to be a surrogate? And then my pastor told me, he was like, you need to stop listening to everybody and just go back and read the Bible for yourself. And you need to make those decisions for yourself. And I said, okay, well, and then when I started looking, what I've come to realize is even if somebody is doing IVF or they're retrieving their eggs or they're working with a surrogate or whatever the case might be, and we're utilizing these medical interventions that God created, quite frankly, because it didn't just come out of nowhere. He had to give it to us, okay? Even when we do all of that and we use faith without works, so we actually have to take the first step to actually do it in order for him to work, to actually do what he's supposed to be doing. And we go to the fertility clinic and we work with man. At the end of the day, man only has so much power. Once he transfers that embryo into a hidden place, and it's invisible, the only person, the only being who can actually create a child is God and God alone.
Alone. I want to be clear. First of all, you better preach. I think Torrey Roberts just jumped on in here. From one church. I see Afion Crockett. I saw you on Wendy Williams today. I don't know who that girl was. It was on your stage. I got mad. My sister Niecy Nash was on. You better preach. And I want to stay right in this moment with God. Because when I got out of my 7-year relationship and the door closed, I heard the voice of God tell me to go freeze my eggs. And the only time I get hate in talking about fertility in the way that I do is, don't you dare play with God.
Mm-hmm.
He told me to do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the only source that can create a baby in me, in somebody else, or say no to the thing is still him. He's the one. And so I am so glad that you spoke on for you to be an egg donor as a Black woman, a 3-time surrogate as a Black woman, that you went to your pastor to say, am I playing with God? I'm not trying to play God here, but I heard this in my spirit. And lo and behold, all of these, and we have to have what your pastor said. I'm going to take that advice. Read the Bible for yourself. What God says to you, he says to you and you alone. He does not have to confirm it through anybody else.
Anybody
else. Now, I mean, when I froze my eggs, I called my mama. I'm freezing my eggs. She got on the plane. Okay, where they do that at? What are we doing? Because they didn't have that. God couldn't speak that. God couldn't speak that to her.
That's right.
Because they were freezing eggs back then. Now, when I came up, when they woke me up, the first thing my mom said to my doctor is, if they were doing this procedure back in my day, her ass would still be frozen.
Yep.
That she would have done this. I would still be frozen somewhere in a freezer because she would have done it. But it made me think, look at God.
Yeah.
The opportunities that she did not have
to
wait on the right man, to get the career going, to travel, to be in it, to have whatever you needed to have in that moment, that God has through society, through time, always evolved to show who he really is, to show what he's capable of, so that my mother of 79 years, beautifully young, can see that her child in her 40s still has a chance.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is the beauty of knowing I'm not playing God. I'm just listening to him. I'm just following his call. So I'm so glad that you did the same and that you sought spiritual counsel in this process of giving this amazing gift of surrogacy. Okay, so y'all, I knew I was going to cry. Damn it, Eloise, the legend. The fertility legend is in these streets. Okay, so now you guys have the family. They were local. You wanted someone that was dealing with a cancer situation. Amen to that from my dear friend Shannon. So you found the family, you guys start the process.
We start the process, and the first transfer, they transferred 3 embryos.
Okay.
1 took, I got pregnant, and then at about 10 weeks, had a miscarriage. Well, it wasn't even a miscarriage. The baby stopped developing, and they found out that it had trisomy 18, Down syndrome and an additional extra chromosome or something like that.
Okay.
So it
Okay.
wasn't viable. We
Understood.
did the second round. 4 embryos got transferred. Now, again, this is, remember, 2000, now at this point, it's like 2007, 2008 timeframe. They do not do those things like they do,
No,
like
because
they did
we
back
could have
then.
multiple births and all the things, right?
That's right. So they did it, went ahead, transferred 4, and none took. And then we did a third try, and they transferred 2 embryos, and then both took, and I ended up pregnant with twins. Yes, twins.
Now, how was that feeling when they didn't take to when they did take for you, the surrogate? Were you, because obviously the family is hoping for the best, they're wanting these things. Did you feel the disappointment for them, for yourself? Did it make you feel any bit like, oh, maybe I'm not built for this? Am I failing them? And I ask that for people that are thinking, is this a road that I want to go down? What was the emotional experience for you as the gestational carrier for another family? There's a responsibility. You feel the need to win.
That's right.
For them.
That's right.
So how was that for you?
And that's the exact word. You feel responsible. And I felt responsible of when it wasn't working, that it was my fault, that, you know, I mean, I had children, so I knew that I could get pregnant. But then when it first happened, and then I ended up having the miscarriage, I was like, you know, you go back to when things don't work and you're like, oh my God, did I get that wrong again? Oh Lord, maybe I got that wrong, and this is just, you know. And then it was kind of, again, like, no, just continue on. But I felt for this family because it was devastating, obviously, to have that loss. And then I felt bad for myself because I'm the one who having to endure all of these things all over again. Doing surrogacy is no walk in the park. The medications that you have to take every single day, the intramuscular injections that you have to take every single day. Oh, and by the way, I had to do those injections myself because my husband tried one time and then they passed out and couldn't do it no more.
Child, don't I know it? Intramuscular, y'all. That means inside of the muscle. Sometimes it's what? The thigh, the butte, all of those things. So it's not just a little fleshy thing. It hurts. Okay?
That's right. That's right. So, but I ended up doing it again for the third time, and the third time was a charm, was successful, ended up having twin girls. And like I said, I mean, I was literally at work and people didn't even know that I was pregnant with twins till I was 6 months pregnant. But what happened was when they did find out, my supervisor tried to fire me because I was a surrogate.
Excuse me?
Yes, ma'am.
This we have never discussed. What?
Yes. He tried to fire me because he found out that I was a surrogate. He's conservative. It was against his beliefs or whatever. And HR put a stop to it because they were like, you touch her right now and we're going to have a lawsuit on our hands.
Mama's still getting these comments. My mother was head of HR for Philadelphia Gas Works. She don't play with these streets with nobody trying to fire nobody off of nothing. I mean, yes. So good. See, and it's good to know that because there's so much judgment, misinformation, people calling something a religious belief, like we said, like we talked about earlier. This is, you're playing God, you're all these things that would actually try to fire you, to make you unemployed because they don't agree with something that you are medically doing for another family. I know that person would not have fired you for donating a kidney, especially if they were the one that needed it. So, you know, how much we judge. And to hear that is very good for anybody that is considering any of these things, so that they understand that not everybody is going to speak your language, and the way that you can continue to know you're doing the right thing is hearing the voice of God in you, how he speaks to you, and knowing that, no, I made this decision, and this is what I chose and what I believe, and I press forward. So it's good to
Yep.
know that there are the adversaries to it. So those will be
Oh,
inclined
yes,
to
there very much
understand.
is. Yes, there's
Okay,
very much
there
is.
very much is. And
Yes, still to this day.
of course. And we're going to
Yes,
talk into all of those things. Keita Wrights is in the building, you guys. I just want to shout out some of the fertility warriors that you, I'm sure, know. Eloise, Keita Wrights' Egg
that's
Donor
right.
Easy film. I saw Regina Townsend from Broken Brown Egg in the building, and I'm sure you know her. Nichelle Poston from Her Normal in the building. Like I said, I know Afion Crockett stopped by, Niecy Nash stopped by, Torrey Roberts stopped by, and the infamous Mama Sue. As long as Mama Sue in the building, then that's really all that matters to me. Okay, so we got through the surrogacy, and then we did it 2 more times. So you chose 2 more
We did it
families.
2 more times. But let me go back real quick to the first
Please,
one.
please.
Because I had the girls,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually ended up starting my agency because of my first set of intended parents. Again, there was no agency in the state of Georgia. So I was the first agency. Family Inceptions was the first agency in the state of Georgia, but I was also the first Black-owned agency in the country.
Write it down, y'all. Family Inceptions was the first surrogacy and egg donation agency in the state of Georgia. The real Brandy is here. She plays Mercedes on P-Valley. She's in Georgia right now. We're talking about surrogacy, Brandy, and egg donation, especially of that Black woman. The one that you're looking at right now is Eloise Drane. She is a 3-time surrogate, a 6-time egg donor, and you started Family Inceptions in the state of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
The first agency
That's right.
for surrogacy and egg
For
donation
surrogacy and egg donation in the state.
in the state. You guys, I want you to give it up for the fertility legend. Just right. Let's see. Keita Wrights wrote Trailblazer. Yep. Put Trailblazer all in the comment section. Just put Trailblazer. Do you understand why I'm doing this to this woman? So, because you had the twins and you decided, I'm going to open this and I'm going to be the first of the first.
Well, yeah, because there was nothing there. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? I should be able to do this. And now remember, I was 6 months pregnant. That's when they found out. After that, the boss tried to fire me. He couldn't. I had the girls. And took my maternity leave because I ended up having to have 1 vaginal, 1 C-section delivery within 1 hour of each other.
Ooh-wee.
And then got Bell's palsy, where a portion of my face was paralyzed for 30 days. And then I ended up having to sue those intended parents because they didn't actually finish paying the medical bills for after delivery. Okay,
Oh, no.
so let's remember all that.
This is real, y'all. This is real. This is real.
So after that, I was like, okay, I'm for sure done. But then when I went back to work, that boss, now that I'm back to work, laid me off. And he obviously couldn't wait for me to get back and lay me off. But the funny thing was, the day they laid me off, I had such a peace. It was unreal. I had such a peace because I had already started thinking about and planning on starting this agency, but I was like, okay, I'm going to have to do the agency on the side and then work my full-time job, how we do. And so, I'm going to have my side business and then work the full-time job until I can whatever. And God was like, no, we're going to fast track you. This is what you're going to be doing, period.
Wow.
So he laid me off, or
so wait
they
a minute,
laid me
because
off.
something my sister Niecy always says is God always gives you a preview. So even though he could not fire you, he laid you off. So that firing, and when you look at it through a spiritual lens, so you guys, you can always look at things through our regular human little teeny tiny lens, honey, or you could look at it through the spiritual lens that God was giving you a preview that you're not supposed to be here. I have bigger, better, purpose-driven things for you to do in this space, because it is not lost on me that because you were a surrogate, this man tried to fire you God giving you a preview of this is a place you will know I am no longer keeping you. There is a reason. So I'm getting you prepared. I'm getting you prepared in the mental and in the spiritual for your departure so that I can get you to where I got to take you. So amen to that. And all of those things, the family not paying the medical bills, all of those ways that the devil tries to interrupt God's purpose for you, the things that can derail you and say, never again, forget this agency. I don't like how surrogacy goes down in these streets. I'm good with it. Thank you again for staying in purpose in spite of every attack that was coming your way. So now you are laid off and you feel peace.
I feel complete peace, to the point, because it used to be so bad about that company that I used to walk to the front door. Before I walked in the building, I would put my hand on the door. I would pray before I walked in the door every single day about going up in that building. Every single day.
Because you knew the enemy was up in there.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So when they laid me off, I started the agency, and then a colleague, not a colleague, a friend of mine introduced me to, she called me and she said, I have this couple and you need to carry for them. And I'm like, girl, do you not understand? I have this thing called Anthony at home. He is not about to allow me to do this again. And she was like, I'm telling you, just talk to them. And if you don't like them, I won't bother you anymore. So I ended up calling the intended mother. We were supposed to be on the phone for 30 minutes. It ended up being 3 hours.
Wow.
And it was actually a Black couple that I carried for the second time. And we just hit it off so well. And so she was like, oh my God, I want you guys to work with us. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to need you to pray, because this thing at home, no.
Right.
So, but I was like, okay, I went home. The whole time I'm driving home, I'm praying. I'm like, okay, God, if this is really of you, if this is what you want me to do, then you're going to have to move some mountains.
And do it. Because.
Quickly.
Right.
So I went home and asked him again, and he was adamant, like, no. And I'm like, just meet them. That's all I'm asking. If you meet them and you don't like them, fine. We ended up meeting. Within 5 minutes. He's looking at me and shaking his head, and I knew right then and there. I was like, oh yeah, this is a done deal.
Oh, I love the support that he has and that he can listen to the Spirit with you. Because where 2 or more are gathered in his name, there he is also.
Though there shall he be.
There shall he be. And so now you have started this agency. You're
started the agency
for family number 2. Now, but because we're talking about Family Inceptions, y'all, if you are not already following Eloise Drane, follow her at Family Inceptions. Follow Fertility Cafe, the podcast that I was honored enough to be a guest on. Follow, share, do all the things. But before we move further, tell us, because it's not just the first Black agency of surrogacy and egg donation in Atlanta. It's the first agency, period. Okay? By a Black woman, y'all. So when people say that Black women are not in this fertility space, listen.
Yes,
I know
we
we're gonna go down
are.
the rabbit hole, and I know.
Yes, we are. We are in this fertility space. We are needed in this fertility space. We must speak out about, and it's not just about, I think we keep thinking that what we're doing is for the here and now. Yes, it is for the here and now, but it's for our children. It's for our grandchildren. It's for our great-grandchildren. I'm not doing all of this just for, and she's going to hate me for putting out her business, but my daughter, unfortunately, last year ended up having a cyst that ended up twisting her ovary in her fallopian tube, and she ended up having to actually have her ovary removed. And she's actually right now, thanks to you, doing egg preservation.
What you mean,
yes,
thanks to her mama?
Well, that too. But I had her listen to you, and so that she could be comfortable, because she's like, but I want to be able to have kids. And I'm like, this is not saying that you're not going to be able to have kids the regular way. This is your insurance. It's insurance.
And there's nothing like it.
No.
Let me tell you, there's nothing like it. This is your insurance. This is a way for you to breathe. And I always tell people, I'm going to say it while you're here, because people always say, how can I afford it? How can I this? How can I that? I put it on one credit card, child. But I always say, the same way we go to baby showers, the same way to go to first birthday parties, throw yourself an egg shower, register at paypal.com, Venmo, Zelly, all the things. Put your focus on your future in that moment while you have the time and while you have the eggs. The sooner, the better. Whether it is because of a medical condition that gets you to that journey, or whether it's because you broke up with a man that got you to the journey, or broke up with a woman that got you. I don't care what it is. If you hear it, do it. And like you said, we start these things, we think it's for the in now moment, but it's not. It is for our children, our children's children, so that they do not have as hard of a path.
That's right.
So that they don't get calls and hear Black women are not infertile, so that she has a mama that taught her differently.
That's right. Because it is our responsibility to teach our children. It's not just the school's responsibility. School only teaches them about sex education,
but not reproductive education.
Not reproduction. We need to be teaching our children. We need to stop fearing about having conversations with our children about sex, about reproduction, about all the things. We have to have these conversations. We have to start having these conversations with 12-year-old girls when they start getting their periods. If you miss more than a couple of days of school because you have a period, that is a problem.
Something's really wrong. Something is really wrong, and we have to stop normalizing it. That's fibroids.
Yes.
That's endometriosis. That's something else is going on. So don't tell a 12-year-old little girl that just because her periods are bad, she's staying home. It's just your period. No, baby, it's not just your period. Your period shouldn't keep you from school. It shouldn't keep you from work. And if it does, there's an underlying condition. I want everybody to hear Eloise and hear her plain when she says these things, because legend, like I said. But tell us exactly, because you started this agency, you guys, flowers. I need flowers for the founder of the first surrogacy egg donation agency in Atlanta that is a Black woman. A Black woman that founded it, and also carried while to see them. But tell us exactly what Family Inception does. What does Family Inceptions do? What is that agency?
So we are a full service surrogacy and egg donation agency. We will find and work with women who want to be surrogates and donors. And different than every other agency, and I'm going to say every other agency, is because I need you educated first. I am so happy that you're willing to raise your hand and say, yes, I'm willing to do it. But I want you educated. I want you to understand what it is that you're getting yourself into. It is not no walk in the park.
Right.
And it's also something that you shouldn't have to be ashamed about. You shouldn't have to hide it. It shouldn't be something you're embarrassed about. Like I said earlier, I sing it from the rooftops because I know that I did something to help another family. I wasn't playing God. God took over when God said he was going to take over. I just did what I was told to do. So yes, I started the agency, and it has definitely, obviously grown. Thank God that it has. And we have helped a lot of people, but there's still so many misconceptions out there about surrogacy, about egg donation, about the need for Black and brown women who need surrogates and egg donors. One of the things, speaking about surrogacy and Black surrogates, is that that there is an exploitation of Black surrogates. So I can't speak for every agency. I can only speak for mine because that's where I'm at. I don't pay anybody else any attention because that's not my business. My
Y'all
business
better
is right
learn.
here.
Y'all better learn who Eloise is. Y'all better understand. Yes.
So, and the thing about it is, I treat everybody equally. If a surrogate is black, white, green, blue, yellow, purple, it doesn't matter. If you have a selfless heart to want to help another family, then I am definitely going to be willing to help you as long as you are educated about that process.
There you go. There you
If
go.
you're coming in to become a surrogate because you see a dollar sign and you think it's quick, fast money, you're better off going to get a job at McDonald's. This is not quick, fast money. If you really want to do this, you must be willing to do this because you have a conviction to want to do it. Now, once you are, again, regardless of your race, but specifically for Black women, you are to get equal share just like everybody else.
Okay,
Equal
so
as
speak
far as
on this.
comp.
Is this the exploitation that you speak of?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, speak on this because this is be very clear. You are supposed to get equal as everybody else.
Equal.
White
Period.
women. Yes.
Period.
Period.
Equal.
Because
yes.
they will exploit you and not give you your due that they give her. I'm not gonna say the name, but y'all know the name. Okay, please go through all those points, please.
So make sure you're doing your due diligence, please. Like, do not just because you see an ad and they say that you can make up to however much money, read the fine print. There's always fine print to everything. Read the fine print.
Now, when you say this, let me ask you a question. Is there a ballpark that a person with a womb that wants to be a surrogate, is there a ballpark? Does it vary from state to state? Does it vary from, how is it all different?
It is different, and it varies more so region by region, because typically the West Coast will receive a higher compensation than other parts of the country. It's just the way that it is. Unfortunately, California is just a wild, wild west when it comes to surrogacy and egg donation. It just is. Mm-hmm. So yes, you would probably receive a higher compensation if you were living and delivering in the state of California versus another. But with the surrogate right now, you could still receive anywhere between $45,000 upwards about $70,000. Tax-free.
Tax-free
money.
Did y'all hear it? Tax-free money to be a surrogate, anywhere from $45,000 to $75,000-ish. Now, if I'm working with an agency takes a fee of that. They take a commission of that? No. Okay. So what does the agency do? They get that from the parents?
They get it from the parents. So the parents are responsible in paying for everything. Everything.
My medical care, all of the medicine, all of the doctor's appointments.
Everything. Delivery, medications, prenatal vitamins, your medical care, your delivery, your co-pays, your bed rest, your child care, your housekeeping, everything.
Wait, did you say housekeeping? Because that is all the way worth it for me. Now, let me ask you this. If I want a lawyer, are they paying for that, or is that on me?
Everything, but your attorney is still your own attorney. They represent you, even though the parents are paying for it, but they put money in escrow. That's all they do. And then it gets dispersed out to whomever it needs to get dispersed out to.
My guess is that in the exploitation of Black and brown people, that these things are not disclosed or offered or known all of the time. That we'll pay.
And it all depends on who they're working with.
But and it also depends on, like you said, being educated so that you know what to ask for, what to expect, and what you're entitled to, and also your power in saying no.
No. Mm-hmm.
Your power in saying this agreement is not for me. and not feeling pressured by the emotional tug of the intended parents, not feeling pressured by an agency. So I think what you're saying in the education of it all is before you actually sign on a dotted line or even go through the process of getting to the dotted line, be educated enough so that you know where your threshold is.
That's right. And what you're willing to accept,
Understood.
who you're willing to work with.
Amen.
You do not need to just walk in there because the clinic agency says, okay, we're going to have you match with these people. No. I'm going to match with whom I choose to work with.
Period. So
yes.
this is a place of, like you said, you feel empowered to help someone.
That's right.
But know that you're not giving them your power.
That's right.
You are a gestational carrier to bring life into this world, to help a family. Your power in that situation and any situation stays within you. So I absolutely love. If you guys have a question for Eloise, then go ahead and put it in the question thingamajiggy so that I can find it and I can get to you if you have a question for her. Okay, I want to go down because we're coming up on an hour 15, so we're going to wrap it up in a little bit, you guys, okay? I'm not going to keep her forever because she's changing lives out there, okay? Follow Family Inceptions, follow Fertility Cafe, but can we go down the rabbit hole a little bit of the lack of, the scarcity of donor eggs from Black people with ovaries and donor sperm for Black people with testes that can give us some sperm? Can you talk a little bit about the world of it?
Yes. So up until George Floyd, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. Until George Floyd, nobody gave a damn about the Black and brown community and fertility and infertility or whatever. It was not a thing. I mean, people were talking about it, but it was not prevalent. There are a whole bunch of grassroots organizations that have been doing all they can for years and years and years. And there's Broken Brown Egg is one of them. Fertility for Color Girls is another one. The White Dress Project is another one. The Black Girl Foundation is another one. There's so many of them. And, people only want to drop one particular name that I am not going to drop right now. And everybody wants to, no. There are a whole bunch of other organizations out there that are doing the work and are on the ground and actually helping the community. But up until, again, George Floyd, no one was really paying attention. The Black and brown thing wasn't a thing. Diversity and inclusion and all of that was not a thing. So no one was seeking out Black donors. They didn't really care. I literally had a physician from a fertility clinic tell me that they had 3 Black donors in their bank and they were going to put it up for sale or clearance or whatever so that they can just hurry up and get rid of it because was no one going to use them.
Jesus.
That was a couple of years ago. So in 2019, to be specific. So
2019, they gonna
yes.
put us on clearance?
Yes.
Wow.
So no one was really seeking out these, contrary to what all these fertility clinics, we have a shortage or whatever. You have a shortage because you wasn't looking for that.
You're not looking for it because you don't see the life as valuable. And you see white women walk into your facility all the time and you don't think to yourself, there is an imbalance of the people that I am helping to create families. This is on us as a community, as people that call ourselves fertility doctors and clinics, and those that are there to serve in assisted reproduction. If we are not serving the entire community at large, we are not doing our job. So to think that only this group matters and only this group is infertile and only this group deserves our help is completely ignorant and part of the problem.
Exactly.
Part of the problem. They need to seek us the same way that we seek each other and that we seek them. They need to seek us because they don't have a problem taking our money when we walk in of our own accord.
Oh, no, not at all. But the second problem, though, to that is when they do, and when we do have these Black donors, then the families can't afford it because now it's too costly. It's too expensive. In order to do egg donation at this point in time with either an egg bank and working with a donor from the egg bank, or even for a fresh donor, you are going to easily spend and drop about $30,000 to $50,000, and insurance covers nothing.
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 None of it.
So that is the second issue. The third issue is that, especially right now, a lot of fertility clinics want to have donors who are vaccinated, because if you are going through that process, can you imagine if you were going through your egg retrieval right now and you ended up giving COVID and you just dropped $7,000 on medications that you were taking, and now because you have COVID, you can't actually get those retrievals, and you just literally wasted thousands of dollars? Well, that's what kept happening. So because it's now required for egg donors as well as surrogates to be vaccinated, it cut out a huge pool of donors that just won't, obviously they won't get vaccinated, so they can't be donors. So that's the other factor. And the fourth factor, quite frankly, is that right now people aren't in desperate need for money. It wasn't how it was a couple of years ago, where, you know, people were trying to hustle and trying to figure out somehow. It's not, it's just like, well, I mean, I don't really want to do that right now. It's not really. So, you know, because for egg donation, one of it is for money.
Yes.
And for these younger women, so egg donors are between 21 and 29. Okay.
Okay.
A lot of these donors.
Do clinics have a cutoff in terms of if you're going to be a donor? Okay.
Yes.
They have a cutoff in terms of if you're going to be a donor. The same way clinics have a cutoff, even if you're freezing your eggs for yourself for the future insurance, clinic by clinic, because I've heard different ages for different clinics. Like for instance, the clinic that I'm in, they will take your eggs up to a certain point, but they will not implant you past the age of 50. And then there's others that will say 45. There's others say 55 or whatever it may be.
That's right.
You know, so, okay. All right. So there is a cutoff if you want to be a donor. So usually around 21 to 29 is the cutoff of that. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Now surrogates is 21 to 40.
21 to 40 from an agency.
No, that is, so let me correct that. ASRM, which is the Assisted Society for Reproductive Medicine, for surrogates, they have 21 to 45. But fertility clinics don't really like to go over that 40 mark when we're talking about gestational surrogacy. So they would prefer them to be between 21 and 40. Now, through our agency, I like them to be roughly around 25. The reason for that is from someone 21 to even 25, especially because I've walked these shoes. Right. I still don't think that the maturity level is all the way there for what is actually a humongous responsibility when you're talking about surrogacy. When I keep trying to stress to people, it is no walk in the park.
Right. Well, see, this is why when you say don't talk to people that ain't been through nothing, don't take advice from people that ain't been through nothing, because you've been through it, you know the toll it takes, not only on the body, which is what people focus on the most, but on your emotions, on your maturity, on how you walk in this world for the rest of your life. You are always going to be a woman that was a gestational carrier 3 times, that had a miscarriage, that carried the twins. You're walking with that. That's part of your imprint in this world. And so I love the fact that you are so focused on making sure you care for the people that come into your agency saying, I want to do this, and that it is not just something you just say, sure, fill this out, that you have those hard, factual conversations and cutoffs, because you're not just protecting the intended family, you're protecting the person that wants to be a surrogate or an egg donor.
That's right. Because if there is a complication, like I ended up having after my last delivery and had to have an emergency hysterectomy, you want to make sure that you're done. Like, okay, definitely something that I was not planning on doing, having, but here it is. But it was okay because I was done having.
You
my
were
kids.
done having your kids. You were done. Did you guys hear that? After her last delivery, had complications that resulted in a hysterectomy, a full hysterectomy, correct?
I had a partial hysterectomy.
Or a partial. Okay, I'm sorry, a partial hysterectomy. I need spirit hands for the legend. Because listen, because I want to, you guys put spirit hands in the comment section, please, for me, and for not for me, put them in there for me, for Eloise, because I want you, if I can do anything in this moment, I just want you to know how moved and touched I am, but I speak for the community of warriors at large here, for the selfless demonstration of humanity and spirit connecting that you are. I saw Regina Townsend write, like, you know, Eloise don't know how to do nothing but call spade a spade. This energy that you hear from her is exactly how she is all the time. And it's true, y'all. The passion, the purpose, and the conviction with which you speak, your intense nature, and your inability to say a false thing, what we need so much. And I wanted the spirit hands to go to you as a thank you. Thank you, because none of this comes without a cost from you. The obvious cost with what your body and your family gave, but even just being here today is you still giving. You're still selflessly giving, and you answered the call, and we don't always do it, and you did it, and I want to say thank you for it. So before I let you go, I'm going to see these questions here, and I think we might have answered some of them. Oh, I think we actually did. Key to my girl, if you guys don't know already, Eggs Over Easy film is going to be on OWN, I believe. I'm in it. So
me too.
And so is Eloise. And so here comes some of your cast members. And but she, Keita Wrights is the executive producer, creator of that film. She says there seems to be a shortage of Black male sperm. What, if anything, is to be done in this regard? So we talked about why. Do you think there's anything to be done?
There is. It's called education. We must be educating. We must be educating the Black men as to the importance of it, but also empowering them to understand why they would want to become sperm donors and how they would control what they get to do. They get to have a say as to what they're doing. This doesn't just mean you just go into a bank and you just give your sperm and then you be none the wiser. No. There is no such thing anymore as anonymity. Because if we think about it, Ancestry.com, DNA, and 23andMe, and all of these things, there is no such thing. And that's just the here and now. We don't know what's going to come 20 years from now.
Y'all heard her. Okay, so we need to be educating our Black men on the say that they actually have in this process and beyond, correct? Because there's different levels of the thing of this donation. And also to be talking to other people that can say something so eloquently like you did, like, I have DNA in the world. But also so-and-so was a Rolling Stone, because I think sometimes, I can't speak for men, but I'm wondering, I guess I should say, is there that's my seed, that's my thing, and versus, and it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, right? But for those that it can be for, we need to continue to educate. So talks like this, and do we need to educate as an advocate that I am, as all of the advocates are here? Dacia James is in the building. She wrote an amazing book about waiting, the waiting season. Write the title in the comments, Dacia. If you haven't, do you know Dacia James?
No.
You know, oh, you gotta meet her. Oh my God. But okay, So, and she was on Warrior Wednesday. So saying this, as the advocates, like Dacia James is in here, like Regina, Nichelle, like Keita writes, do we go to our sperm banks and educate them about how to educate people of color, men of color?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Y'all, we're
Yes,
down.
we do.
We're
But
down
I
in the
also
chat.
want to make a quick point. We
Please.
keep talking about surrogates and donors and the families that need them, but we also need to talk about these donor conceived babies. These children that are from the donors. We can't forget that what we are creating is we are bringing life into the world.
Amen.
And that life one day will become an adult. And that person is going to want to know who, just like all of us, what is my makeup? What makes me me?
Right.
And that's why I'm saying anonymity can't just be a thing where we think like we can do this hidden, or that we can, just go about our business. We do a donation and no one is going to be the wiser and no one's going to know, and you just put this money in your pocket. No. Because we're talking about human life.
Right.
Although I'm giving DNA, but it has not escaped me of the responsibility that I am giving of giving that DNA for another person so that they can have their own children. Because one day, which that happened last year, one of my egg donor babies actually reached out and I spoke to her. She's 15, or she was 15 at the time. And her parents finally told her about her story. And the thing about it is why are we waiting until she's 15? Why didn't we start telling them about their stories from the get-go so that it wasn't going to be an issue, so that they would be accepting of, okay, that's just how I was brought here. It doesn't have to be where society says it's a man and a woman and you have to sleep together and that's the only way you can have children. You can have children through adoption. You can have children through foster care. You can have children through donor eggs. You can have children however you have children. God never said it had to be exactly this way. Society said that.
Come
so,
on.
But we need to stop thinking that it's only about just the donor or the surrogate or the parents right now, because we are, again, bringing another human being who's going to have a lot of questions and a lot of answers, and they are due that.
Yes, they're due that conversation as many times as they need to have it. They
That's
are
right.
due the answers to those questions, as many questions as they ask. They are given this beautiful gift of life, and it comes with dignity and it comes with respect, and they need to know how they got here and who they are. What makes me me?
That's right.
How was that when the donor egg child reached out to you and had a conversation? How was that for you? I can imagine just fireworks of glory. I get it, like waiting till she's 15, like tell her early. I get that, but just to know that she was curious about the person that donated the DNA. How was that? How was that conversation?
It was fascinating. It was fascinating. But I did not have a connection with her. I care about her. I care about her parents, and I care about her. But again, that is not my child. I gave her DNA. That's what I gave her, which means that she's going to have similar traits. She's going to have similar things. One thing is a shoe fetish, like, Lord Jesus, shoes.
I love it. Like, that's where that came from.
And her thing was, I knew there was something different about me and my mom. I just knew it. But I didn't know how to articulate it. I didn't know how to pinpoint it. She was like, and I have this thing about shoes. I said, oh, baby.
You got that from my DNA, right?
Look. Wow. So I get it. But at the same time, she's like, it's not really that I even want to have a relationship. I just wanted to hear what you sounded like.
Oh, my Lord, my Lord, my Lord.
That's
because
it.
You helped give her the gift of life.
Yeah.
And there is always going to be that spiritual thread of that DNA to DNA connection and the spirit that was the bridge for that to happen. Because let's remember, you heard it, you answered the call, you did the
Mm-hmm.
thing, the life came
Mm-hmm.
into this world. As you said, only
Mm-hmm.
God can say yes to the
Mm-hmm.
viable pregnancy and the delivery of the thing. Only God can say yes to that part of it, right?
That's
Everything
right.
else, we're doing our work. So if he said yes, for her to be able to just hear your voice and just know the person that helped me get here, I have heard her voice, and now that is in my DNA as well. That's in my spirit as well. I want you to come back. I know I say this all the time, but I mean it, Eloise. We're not done, because this was this was beyond fascinating. And again, everybody, I want you to follow Fertility Inceptions. That is the
Family
I'm
Inceptions.
sorry, Family
Family
Inceptions. I'm
Inceptions.
sorry, Family Inceptions. My bad. Family Inceptions, the first egg donation and surrogacy agency in the state of Atlanta, was founded by this one. Not just the first Black one, y'all. The only first was Eloise Drane right here. Family Inceptions, as well as Fertility Cafe, your amazing podcast that I was so thrilled to be on. Everyone's saying, please come back. Dacia also has to come back. Shout out to her mom for facilitating too. Absolutely, like everything. We just shout out to your whole family, that we're all
Thank you.
surrogates for all of these people. We love everything that you do. What are the last things that you want to leave us with about the world of surrogacy or egg donation, or just something about this world of being a fertility advocate that we take on every day with pride? What notes can you leave us with to walk with?
We need to, as a society, as a community, we need to be open to accepting others as however, whether they need to work with the surrogate, they need to work with the donor, they need to do adoption, whatever. We're a very judgmental society.
Yes.
And we need to be willing to see perspective from somebody else. We all have our own two eyes. I see how I see. You see how you see. If I'm not willing to see your perspective and you're not willing to see my perspective, we're never going to be able to collectively get along.
Right. Right.
And for people that are going through infertility or going through issues related to fertility, it doesn't necessarily mean just because you can't get pregnant that it's necessarily infertility. It could be a number of issues that are happening right now. Just because you're the one going through it doesn't mean that I can't open up my mouth and speak up for you.
Woo!
Just because I'm going through something doesn't mean because you're not going through it that you can't speak up for me. Because if we begin doing that and we begin having it as a normal conversation, then if our daughters need to work with an egg donor, or if our daughters need egg freezing, or if our daughters want to become a surrogate, we're actually supporting them. And instead of holding them back, maybe we need to start asking, well, why? Why do you want to do that? Like, what is your real true reason? Is it for a valid reason because you really want to help? Or is it, do you have, is it just for money? If it's just for money, then I'm going to tell you, do not do it.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't.
Please
but
don't
if
do
you
it.
really truly want to help, and because this is what your conviction is, this is one of your purposes, then yes, absolutely. There are so many people right now that are waiting for a surrogate and an egg donor. And a lot of them are Black families.
Yes, 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 yes. We're here. We're here. A lot of them are Black families. And just so you guys know, when you freeze your eggs, they will ask you, would you like to be an egg donor? Just so you know, that's part of the paperwork. And if you say no in that moment because you have not thought that through, and you decide later on, you know what, I'm not going to use that eggs, or you got pregnant naturally, or you adopted, or whatever it may be, you can then go through the process with that fertility clinic, provided they're viable and all of those things, which they won't be frozen. If they're not, at least enough, you can then change that and become a donor. Okay. I have 29 eggs in the freezer. I ain't used them yet. I'm still, to your point about your daughter, this is insurance for me.
That's right.
But there may come a time where I can say, hey, I'll donate these now. So just know that we are all collectively connected in this thing called life.
Mm-hmm.
And the circle of it and bringing it into this world. And I love every single thing that you said. And I thank you immensely for your spirit, for your time, for your smile, for Family Inceptions. You guys follow Eloise, follow Family Inceptions, follow Fertility Cafe, and listen to our podcast. You're going to hear this same energy. This is, and I coined this phrase for you when I wrote the post that you were going to be on today, that if there ever was a fertility legend, it is Eloise Drane.
I'm gonna start using it. I'm gonna say Kelly said I was. So guess what?
You absolutely are. And I listen, own it. Okay. A 6-time egg donor, a 3-time surrogate, the starter of Family Inceptions, the first surrogacy egg donation agency in the state of Atlanta. Honey, you and a mother of 5 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Fertility legend has nothing on you. There's a word that has been invented. Eloise, let everybody know exactly where they can find you and the website for Family Inceptions.
It's just at Family Inceptions or even at Eloise Drane. And that all of our information, I mean, literally on all of the different platforms, literally just at Family Inceptions, or on IG, it's at Eloise Drane.
At Eloise Drane. You guys reach out to her, follow her, send her to a bunch of people. She is such a resource, such a help, and such a light. Let me say to you, friend, that I will speak for Regina and Nichelle and Dacia and Kita, we are here for you in any way that we can possibly be of service.
I wholeheartedly appreciate that.
At any time, the answer is yes. We got your back, whatever you need. I can't wait to have more conversations with you. Please call on us. And please know how grateful we are, everybody is, that you joined us today on Warrior Wednesdays. Eloise Drane,
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you and to yours and everybody on Saturday, November 20th. That is National Adoption Day, and Keiichi Carroll, the showrunner of All American, a little show that I'm on, is going to be here for a special edition of Warrior Wednesdays to talk about her adoption story. So we're going to continue these talks in these streets. Eloise, happy Thanksgiving. I love you, girl.
Girl, bye. Thanks so much.
Talk soon, love. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Woo! Bye, baby. I told y'all. I hope that you are filled, and I hope that you share this with everybody that needs it and everybody you don't know that needs it. Just share it, because she is a gift. She is a wealth of information. Eloise is a businesswoman, a mother, a server of God. She is just a walking light that has helped so many people. And I know you are blessed. I know you are blessed by her visit here today. Eloise, I thank you again. I thank everybody for being here. I'll see you on Saturday with Keiichi Carroll. I won't be here next week because I'll be working, but I wanted to say hello and thank you. And Eloise, you crushed it as always. I'm going to post it right now, you guys. Mwah! Thank you for stopping by. I love you. I'll see you on Saturday. Bye, y'all.